Hurricane Sally really kicking up the surf in Orange Beach, Alabama. That is where we find MSNBC host Ali Velshi, who never misses an opportunity to cover a good hurricane. Ali, Hurricane Sally expected to make landfall pretty close to where you are. What are folks bracing for there?
Yeah, so I'm east of where Chris Jansing was when you talked to her in Mobile. I'm west of Pensacola, Florida, and the landfall is going to be somewhere probably in this area. It may be right above us. You're looking at the Gulf of Mexico behind me. You can see that pier over there. The water's not overtopping it just yet, but you can see that surf coming in. Look at it. It's getting very, very close, and we are several hours away from this thing. This thing may not be making landfall until the small hours of the night. So this is unusually heavy outer band that we're already getting. We are seeing, as you described, a very slow-moving storm, which is not fantastic because it churns over the Gulf of Mexico until it makes landfall. We have seen a lot of evacuations. We're in a very low-lying area around here. In fact, we're on a reef at the moment. So as I came in a couple of hours ago, that was the last sort of cars that were getting in. There have been some evacuations in the area. Not everybody is evacuating because it doesn't seem like a very big storm in terms of wind, but as you and I have discussed many times with these storms, the surge and the water is what the issue is going to be. And with this thing, the surge is coming in and the water is coming down over such a long period of time that's what the concern is going to be, how inundated it is. But it's probably going to, you can see it's pretty strong now, and we are 8-10 hours away at least from the worst of it, Allison.
Yeah, Ali, given that the worst of it is still clearly yet to come, hours away, what are local officials saying about residents getting to a shelter, potentially, getting out of there at some point, and also all of that in the framework of the pandemic that we're in? What are the concerns about, potentially getting people out if the waters really rise during COVID-19?
Yeah, They've been warning people to get out because the fact is some people don't take these things too seriously. Often they come in a way that wasn't predicted, a lot less. But the issue here is rescues, right? If you're here and you're trapped, they're asking people to have enough medication, prepare for power outages, which are almost certain to happen, probably in the next few hours or so, because we're starting to see these winds pick up. And they're letting people know that after the winds hit a certain level, usually about 45 or 50 miles an hour, and we're getting close to that, they're not going to go out there and rescue people. They're closing off a lot of this area in southern Louisiana, all the way to southern Mississippi, and even into western Florida. The Panhandle are served by bridges at the southernmost point, like here. So, for instance, you can't get to where I am without crossing a bridge or several bridges. They're going to take those bridges out of commission because they are 100 feet up in the air in many cases or higher, and they can't operate in high winds. So they're basically saying if you haven't evacuated yet, stay put, stay safe, make sure you got everything charged, get to high ground if you can, and do not expect a rescue until this thing has started to recede on the other end. They're worrying, obviously, power lines going down and trees going down are going to impede the rescue. Even in Hurricane Laura that we're in, we saw that. Even in places that were not particularly hard hit, it doesn't take much to take trees and lines down. So they are just letting people know you may be stuck for 2 or 3 days or longer if you haven't evacuated. But of course, evacuating becomes very difficult with COVID. One thing I did see in the gas stations around the area, grocery stores, they were filling up. A number of gas stations are out of gas already. So people have been filling up and preparing over the last couple of days. We don't have a count as to how many people are around here right now. I know there are some. They're hoping to ride it out. But a number of people have evacuated so far, Allison.
All right, Ali, thank you so much, as always, for your reporting, and please stay safe out there, my friend.
Will do.
So what can we expect from Hurricane Sally over the next few days? Today's show co-host, Al Roker, joining me now with the forecast. Al, Sally was supposed to hit land this morning, but that storm really stalled in the Gulf. What is happening now?
Well, basically, we don't have much in the way of steering currents, and so we are looking at a slow mover. And in fact, it's still a Category 1, 105 miles south of Mobile, Alabama, 80-mile-per-hour winds. It is moving northwest at 2 miles per hour, and that's the big problem. And in fact, as we look at the satellite and the radar, you can see the wind gusts right now out over the ocean, wind gusts of 90 miles per hour. But as we get closer to shore, look at this, Biloxi. 32-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Mobile, 40. Pensacola, 30 miles per hour. And you can see those rain bands now. This is live radar coming right on shore there. And those bands are just going to get heavier. Now, Sally has started to move to the north, tracking north toward Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, heavy rain, strong winds, and an inundating storm surge. Tonight, we look at landfall probably around 1 a.m., 4 a.m., give or take, as a Category 1 storm. Strong winds, flooding rains, and then tomorrow morning, again, still moving slowly, just barely a Category 1 storm. But don't pay attention to the category, Allison, because the winds still, while they could do some damage, the biggest problem going to be the torrential rains. As this moves up and out, you can see the heavy rain out ahead of it into the Carolinas. The problem is it's slow forward speed. Average 25-mile-per-hour tornado, I should say a tropical cyclone, would drop 5 inches of rain. Look at this. At 5 miles per hour, it drops 30 inches of rain. Well, this thing is moving half that speed. So now we're talking about at least 30 inches or more before this is all over. Possible historic flooding for southern Alabama, parts of the Florida Panhandle, and then widespread minor to isolated major flooding along the rivers there. So we're going to be watching that. The storm surge, something we still have to worry about. 24 hours ago, we thought it was going to be much worse, but it still can do significant damage. A 3-foot storm surge can knock down walls in homes. So you have to be very careful of that. And again, damaging winds possible. 83-mile-per-hour gusts in Mobile, 59 in Pensacola. That means we could be looking at widespread power outages, especially throughout the Florida Panhandle and southern Georgia. And here's the other issue. La Nina is here, and that means below average ocean temperatures across the equatorial waters. That means the storm track is up to the north. There's less shear down through the Atlantic and the Gulf Coast, and that means a more active tropics. And to that point, Allison, if you look at the Atlantic right now, we've got Hurricane Sally, Paulette, Tropical Storm Teddy, Vicky, another system coming off the coast of Africa, 20% chance of something in the Gulf. Teddy could become a major hurricane. We're going to have to watch that very, very closely. And the idea that we have seen now, earliest storms on record, once you get past Cristobal with Edward all the way through Renee and Sally, Teddy, Vicky, we're just left with Wilfred. Once we get past Wilfred, we move into the Greek alphabet. The last time we had something like that was 15 years ago, Allison, the hurricane season of 2005, and this is on track to equal or better that.
Oh, a slow-moving and dangerous-sounding storm, Hurricane Sally. Al, thank you so much for bringing us the very latest.
You bet.
Hey, Allison, yeah, the winds have really picked up here. The rain is really pelting. This is a city that is essentially on lockdown. These beaches have been closed for a while. We saw a few people coming in with their dogs, and actually they had a safety officer who was coming in and telling folks that they needed to leave. The entire city is now going to be under a curfew from 8 o'clock tonight until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. They are telling people these are life-threatening conditions. Two things. One is the amount of rain. When you have a storm coming in that is so slow, the potential is there for record-setting amounts of rain, maybe 30 inches. They could surpass what they normally get in a September throughout the state of Alabama. And then the second thing is that storm surge. You can see how much the waves are whipping up. That's nothing compared to what it will be like overnight and in the early morning hours here in Gulf Shores. So they have been telling folks, if you are in a low-lying area and you haven't already gone somewhere safe, they do have a county shelter, an emergency shelter of last resort. Of course, they are trying to avoid having people go there because of the coronavirus. In addition to that, they have a situation where they're saying, look, we already have roads that are flooded and impassable. We know our emergency vehicles can't get through them. And we don't want to have a situation where, because you decided to try to ride out the storm, we put our emergency responders at risk. So again, if you watch TV here, you listen to the radio, there has been a constant number of press conferences begging people to get out of harm's way. Again, what they're saying could be a history-making storm and definitely a life-threatening storm, telling people, be safe, be smart. By this time tomorrow, they're waiting to see exactly what this storm leaves behind. Allison?
Allison, as you can see, the fire is well and truly gone from this area, pushing deep into Plumas National Forest, but leaving behind a trail of destruction and devastation. Entire communities flattened, including the small community of Berry Creek and the home of Jillian Rouse and her family. This is the second home that they have lost in the past 2 years to wildfires. They lost their home in the Paradise Fire, and now this. They tell me that they're in shock.
It doesn't seem real. We did it last time, so we'll do it again. You know, everyone else is doing it again with us, too, so it's hard to, you can't sit there and feel sorry for yourself.
It's just a matter of starting over. I'm sure there's a lot more people that are worse off than we are right now. We have help, and I mean, I've had little savings from the insurance from before.
Incredibly, the family is now being trolled on social media, blamed for losing it all, for making the decision to move to another mountain village. But they told me that it was what they could afford, that they liked the fresh mountain air, and that they weren't alone. Numerous families made the decision to move to Berry Creek from Paradise, now facing double devastation. Allison?